Yes, 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 y'all. We're back. We're back. We're back. It's the Urban Collective Show. It's your man NIC alongside.
What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Bernadine Truth. I am so excited to be back with everyone. It's been so long.
I
We've
know.
been unplugged and I wouldn't say disconnected, but just unplugged in a different capacity and plugged in a different capacity for quite some time. So I'm so excited to be here. And I see, how have you been?
I've been awesome. It's been it's been a weird break, but good at the same time because it was much needed. We'll tell you guys why we were out, but I've been great. I cannot complain. I know a lot's been happening out there. We missed a lot, which I was so mad sometimes. I was like, oh!
Yeah, like the world is happening and we would typically document it or share a perspective, but
Exactly. So that's been weird to not be able to speak. So I actually, at first, I was like, oh, I don't miss it. The planning and all the behind the scene. After about 2 to 3 weeks, I was like, you know what? Yeah, we need to get back on. And everywhere I went, somebody would be like, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys? Did you stop? Guys done? Like, no, 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 no. I think I had about a good 15, 20 people hitting me up on Instagram, wherever, seeing me in public, whenever I would be out in public. Very rare that I'm out in public, but they would see me like, hey, what happened to the show? Please don't tell me you guys stop. Like, we love the show. And I'm like, okay. So those people, it's because of you, we're probably back a little bit soon. Because if it was up to us, we'd probably wait till like 2021. But
no, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I agree. I've been good. So similarly, right? Like just going, sorry, somebody's trying to make an appearance and I'm trying to like move him out the way. But I've been really good, just persisting through this time. I think, still persisting through COVID. Rates are increasing again, right? We had a decline in the city of Boston, and then the state of Massachusetts for a little bit. Even throughout the summer, right, where people just want to be out and about. But again, like I said, like numbers were on a decline. And now that we're in the fall season and winter season at this point, numbers have started to increase again. And so we're just getting ready for Boston to be hit with another wave of trying to figure out what we're going to do. But similarly to you, and I see a couple of people have reached out to me and we're like, are y'all coming back? Like, did y'all stop? Can we be on the show? We have things we like to talk about. We want to be interviewed. Bring me back. Bring me on. And then there's a lot of people who are still making a lot of waves happen in the city that, we need to connect with, some people who've already been on the show that we need to bring back. And then others who just haven't had the opportunity and we haven't had the opportunity to extend the invitation. We need to make that happen now too. So I'm just really excited to be back here. Like you said, right. If it were for the inquiries, I don't know if we'd be back in 2020, but we're here. So we're back at it, and it's I mean, and I see, how have you been since the last time we've been on air? I mean, I think it's been about 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah, we stopped. Our last show was in August, and so it was September, October, November. Wow, it's 3 months. I thought it was just a couple of months. I forgot.
Yeah, it's like December 4 or 5 months. So yeah.
Yeah, today's December 1st, so I forgot that we've been out for that long. I've been awesome. I've been great. Physically, emotionally, I've been in a great place. So personally, I've been in a good space. I cannot complain. It's probably been one of the busiest times of my life, but all for good things. So personally, I guess I'll get started since you asked me. The past few months, what's happened to myself and my family, my immediate family, my wife. My wife was pregnant. We found out earlier this year.
Yeah,
I had a we got a son that came a little bit earlier, a couple of days early. He came in mid-September, and he was born mid-September. So we have a brand new, healthy baby boy.
Are we gonna get a sneak peek? Can we show him?
His mom has him. Sorry, I would have. Like he was just with me in the chair down here in my man cave, but his mom just grabbed him, so she's probably watching the show or anything like that. But you'll get to see him hopefully before the end of the year or some other time. We'll get give you guys a sneak peek. But yeah, he's up 10 weeks old now, so that's awesome. He's talking all day and everything is going on like all day talking. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna be a talkative person. Oh God, I'm like, Brother Dean, help me.
get him a third mic. Get a third mic.
I know.
I'd be like, "What up, baby Sean? How you doing?"
I know. Yeah. So his name is Sean. So I'm very happy, very excited. As you know, what comes along with a new child, and it's our first baby also. So we wanted to make sure we had the time, we were available, and that we weren't trying to do the show. Behind the scenes, is a lot to do. TUC. My wife is the COO, so both of us are involved. It's not like just one person can be like, okay, you just deal with it, and then I'll be able to watch. Both of us are involved behind the scenes on running this show. So because of that, we had to take a break. And in the midst of that happening, also my wife and I, we were able to purchase our first home, and we moved into that.
Why is happening?
Yeah, we moved into the home the week he was born on a Saturday morning. We moved into the home the following week. So bought a home, and it's something that if you had asked us a few months prior, we probably would have told you, no, we were looking. Maybe COVID kind of slowed that down for us early in the year. So we kind of stopped looking, and something fell in our lap that we just could not take the advantage and go into it and purchase it. So we put an offer on the house at the end of July, closed by the end of August. And Bernadine and I were kind of tied in together. I'll let you tell your story, but it was on August 28th, so that was pretty great. So moving, everything that happens with that COVID moving is different than regular moving. It's not like you just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just grab some people, help us move. And then of course we had a brand new baby boy, so we had to take extra precaution in moving and everything like that. And you know what comes with a house. It was moving ready, so we didn't have to do too much work, but do a little painting, little stuff here and there, and been fixing up the place. This is the man cave, so this will be where you're seeing the stuff going forward if we're gonna be in COVID for a little bit while longer.
You got Red Sox gear in there. What happened to the Yankees?
Anyways, so this is the wall of championships I've seen since I was a child in the city of Boston. So yeah, Celtics, Patriots, everything behind me. Man cave, I'm in the man cave right now. I don't want to turn the camera around to show everybody, but so yeah, this is where all the editing and all the shows will be happening. And yeah, that's it. So I had a lot happen in about 2.5 months. Very excited, but this is why me personally, I needed to take a break because there was so much happening. Bernadine, what about you?
Well, first, I'd be remiss if I didn't say once again, congratulations. That's amazing, right? I think first to start, the birth and the life of a child is a blessing, especially during this time. A number of my friends became parents for the first time during COVID. And while it was a very exciting experience, it's also one that was very scary. And so I'm so happy to hear that you all were in a position to take the time to heal, to bond. Because I mean, Shirley her body had to heal, right? Giving birth is a traumatic experience within itself, as beautiful as it is. And so you all had that opportunity to do that and to bond with your baby and spend a lot of that like one-on-one time with him, which is so exciting. And of course, right, economic growth and stability with home ownership, like that's amazing. So congrats to you. I'm so excited for all of you, and I can't wait to be there. Believe it or not, TUC family and supporters, like we have not physically seen each other since around that time either. So, you know, coming from a place where I saw NIC and Shirley like every other week, if not every week.
I don't know, every week when we were live, every week.
Sometimes when we were live, and it's going to be almost a year since we've really seen each other consistently. Since March, you know, things started to get shut down, and we haven't seen each other. Maybe started around like April, but either way, it's been an experience to be here. As far as for me, you know, I mean, I'll just say, like piggybacking off of NIC, I too also purchased my first home, which is exciting. And we're in my office right now, which I'm excited about, in the city of Boston. And so that's been, you listen, I think our lives just paralleled in different ways, right? So you had a baby, and in that same week you close on a house, and like you were moving in. And for me, it's like, I bought a house, and in that same week I started law school. And so I'm sitting here like, give me a minute. So that's also what's been happening in TUC world. I started law school, so I am in I'm currently attending law school part-time, and I'm still working for the city of Boston full-time, and still a consultant and founder of my own company, which is its own world of full-time work in a sense, and really transitioning that into part-time work a bit just so I can fully transition. But it's been an experience, y'all. Like, I will never, ever, ever recommend it to somebody to close, to start. I started school on Monday, closed on a house on Friday. That Friday, moved in the house on Saturday and went back to school on Monday. Like nothing ever happened in my life.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been going ever since. And
I remember.
People will be like, yeah, but B, you always been on the go. You got this. No, that's a different transition, everybody. Like, I thought I had it too, to be honest. I was like, oh, like this will be fine. I'm so used to being on the move, and it's a different pace, but it's been a lot. It's been amazing. It's been empowering. It's been isolating, right? Because I'm as an extrovert who was always out and about. I'm forced to stay in my house, and it's just me, myself, and I and my walls. So as a result of that, in October, I also got a new addition to my family.
Oh, hey.
Say hi. So I got a little furry friends, and his name is Bentley Malcolm. Bentley Riley Malcolm. His initials stand for BRM, aka Black Rights Matter. You can see he's an ally. He is not, person of race. That's really important to me. I didn't like any of the L names to go with Bentley and Malcolm, so he couldn't be a Black Lives Matter dog, but he's a Black Rights Matter dog. So
Black Rights. I was like, oh, okay.
We're training him. Okay, we're training him. He's
a
trainer.
Is he peeing all over the place?
No, so he has his puppy pads. I mean, he has moments. I think that I've been learning that dogs are temperamental in the sense that, like, if I'm around him, he knows exactly where to go. The minute I'm not around him, he'll be like, well then. No, yeah, and I'm like, but you know where to go. So why are we even here? I'm gonna let him go. So that's just been it's been a whirlwind of life. There's been a whirlwind of life. So, and actually, talk to me about, like, between becoming a father to a Black boy during this time. Like, what has that been like for you? I know, like, on air and off air, we've joked. You all have joked with me, like, Partisan, you're always like Black lives, like Black rights, this, that, and a third. Like, like, it's not that serious sometimes. But do you feel the weight? Talk to me. Like, how have you grown in that perspective?
No, not yet, because he's still a baby. He's still an infant. He's a newborn. So I think throughout the process of the whole Black Lives Matter and knowing that my wife was pregnant, it was something that weighed heavily. I was like, wow, I'm bringing a child into this world. Sorry, my eyes are watering. I don't know if it's the lights.
Okay, you're emotional. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, whatever. Me too. So that was something that I had to deal with. And it felt weird. It was kind of like, am I bringing a child into this world that I'm going to have to worry about every day? Is it going to become better, I should say? Or is it going to get worse? That's literally what I kept thinking about. Like, okay, I see all the rioting. I see all the movements that are happening. In 5 years, 10 years, 15 years when he goes out into the world, 20 years when he goes out into the world in the future, God hoping and blessing him to go out there, what is it going to be like for him? Is it still going to be the same experiences? So that made me a little bit nervous, but I always look at the positive side in life, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm glad we're going through this now, so that hopefully the changes that need to happen by the time he's out in this world. So I've been a little bit anxious, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, he still has time. There's still time. It's not like he's going to go out tomorrow and go walking around the neighborhood or anything like that. There's still time. And because of that, I'm a little bit more reserved and like, okay, you know what? It's not as bad. Stefan, things will change. Things will get better. Hopefully, crossing my fingers. But yeah, I've been anxious, but not as much as I thought as I would. Before he was born, I was like, oh my God, I was very scared.
Real responsibility, right? You're raising a Black man. And I think that when we talk about Black men too, we talk about mentorship, the presence of culture, the presence of, you're a Black Haitian man, right? And so that has its own expectations attached to it. Like I think about that, right? And you know, as a person who also has experiences with mental health in her family, like at the hands of Black men, like I think about that as well. And I don't know, like I think the way that I operate as an empath, I take a lot of what goes on in the world personally. I'm learning, right? I'm constantly learning to say like, Bernie, but that's not your issue, right? Like I'm giving birth to Black sons, and I'm like, oh, I feel the weight of carrying it forever. It's who I am. But you know, I think about these elements of life, like how do we start empowering the Black boy to be that amazing Black man we want him to be, and instilling him with the tools to understand the value of his Black life and his responsibility and his responsibility as a man to come, but also his responsibility to be a kid, right? Like be a child, like don't carry the world on your shoulders as a child. You know, it's very real. So I'm excited to be part of this journey with you and to see what you end up being like as a father.
I know. Oh my God, I can't wait. Like it's there's certain things I look forward to.
Already, you know that, right? Talk about I can't wait. You are already.
No. I mean, like I'm a father, but there's certain things that I'm able to do this and that. So for you, my question for you is, how has it been being a homeowner, and what was the process like for you? I know we each had our own process, but what was it like for you? Because like you said, we both did it so fast.
And I know, and also like so in sync. Which was just coincidental too. We
closed on the same day, guys.
Close, pure coincidence. There was no planning, no talking, nothing. We were just like, oh, we haven't spoken in a while. Life updates. Ooh, we got the same life updates.
Yep. Literally,
like we're not even making this up. So oh man, I love them. Like that's why NSC's like brother to me, Shirley's a sister, like all of y'all like family. But the process was if I could take myself back, let me tell y'all, people don't buying a house is stressful, okay? So it's one thing to get your life in order, but you know, it's a process to start saving your money and to recognize that, you know what, I need to save. I think COVID actually helped me to be a lot more responsible and a lot more intentional about what I'm doing with my money and doing with my time. And so being able to put money aside during COVID and having school loans, for example, be at a moment of pause and I didn't have to pay that for a little bit really helped me to figure out what my next transition in life was going to be, my next step. I always think about how I'm living in the current moment, but also what my next steps are going to be to align me for another chapter in life, right? One that I feel like I'm in control of, and then one that I'm obviously not in any type of control over. And so when I decided to start saving to purchase property, I feel like the cards were aligned. I told myself I wasn't going to start looking for a house until October, actually, because I knew that, and I didn't share with anybody, but I knew that I was going to school. And so I said, well, I don't want to do it both at the exact same time. So like, let me, get a month or so under the belt and then start looking for property after I feel like I'm a little bit settled. So I probably would have been getting settled in at this time, hopefully, if I found something on the market. But, like you and I see, even though you have like a timeline in mind for like a month of when you probably want to be serious, you start looking, right? Just to see what's out there. And I was looking to see what's out there. And one day before I went to bed, I saw a house and my heart told me that's your home. And I never saw it or anything. And then I just sent it to my real estate agent. I said, hey, I really want to see this house this weekend. What are your thoughts? He said, sure, let me see if they're available. Went in to see the house. And that was it. I mean, I even wrote an offer letter to the sellers before I ever saw the house, right? Like I never actually stepped foot in the house, but I said, I want this house. So I wrote an offer letter and I took an offer letter with me on this house visit. When I saw the home, I said, absolutely, this is where I want to call my own, at least for my first purchase. And the rest was history. I want to say that the housing process is stressful the minute your offer gets accepted. It's one thing to look at homes. It's one thing to go visit. It can actually be relaxing and therapeutic in some ways, right? Because you get a sense of what's out there. But the minute your offer is accepted, your life is no longer yours, and you're working on timelines and deadlines that like, you have no control over. So It's proof of income. It's, going through your bank statements. It's your credit report, your credit history. It's making sure you have enough money in reserves. It's tracking if somebody were to gift you money, where that gift came from. And we'll talk. We'll have to just have a real estate session.
Yeah,
but
we do, because a lot of that stuff is like information we need to let people know about.
I will seriously have a heart to heart with anybody about this process. And to be a single Black woman to own property in the city of Boston by herself without a co-signer is something that I don't take lightly, right? And so I acknowledge it, I celebrate it, but I'm also like, oh shit, what the fuck with it, right? And I don't curse on the show, y'all. So for me to sit here and be like, ooh, well, this is what I said I'm going to do with all my money. I know. God willing, I continue to stay employed. God willing, I continue to grow. God willing, I continue to hold into my home. And I turned my house into a home within a week as well. And so I had to expedite I felt like my life was just fast tracked because of school. And so, like I said to you all, right, I started school on a Monday. I closed on a house on a Friday, moved in on Saturday, went back to school on Monday. And then that week, at the same time I'm in classes, it was at the same time I was unpacking my house and turned it into a home within a week and a half. And I've been living, and it's been amazing. I think at the very beginning, it's kind of creepy. You're like, what the hell? It's just me and the walls. Like, you watch scary movies and you're like, shit.
I know that first week in any new place is always different. Like, I remember the first night we slept over, and then we was just sitting there. Like, my wife couldn't sleep at all. I'm sleeping, and then I'm waking up, and I'm like, something's different. Like, even the walk to the bathroom is different. You know how you just memorize it? You're like, okay, lights over here. That was different. So those little weird things were different. Larger space. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I always wanted a larger space. Great, because we're coming from like a 2-bedroom. We moved in right after we got married to a 2-bedroom townhouse. Now we're getting a place that's twice or more, almost 3 times the size of where we were at. So it's like, okay, there's more upkeep now. I see why people just don't want bigger homes, because now I have multiple bathrooms to clean. I have all this. So those little things about home ownership they don't tell you about. I had to clean leaves the other day, Birdie.
Oh no, I paid
I'm a pretty boy.
I said,
I don't do that.
I said,
I had about 16 bags of leaves.
Listen, I should have taken pictures of mine. Like, I live in the middle of, I think, all the trees in Boston. And so they all land in my yard. So,
and this is the third time I've done leaves. I'm city boy again. I'm like, oh, leaves are falling. It's early November. Look at the leaves. I went and I did about 6 bags.
No, for me, I was raking. So in the beginning, okay, so everything for me is like an exciting moment to document, right? No. So I was like, the first time I was raking leaves, I was like, this is amazing. Life, raking leaves. And then I said, these leaves won't stop falling.
Nope, they do not.
And then I gave up. I was like, I can't keep raking this. This is not fair. This is like stressful and annoying. And then when all the leaves finally fell, I looked around and I'm like, this is insane. I was like, I can't do this. So I paid somebody to do it for me, and I love it. And I'm like, now my yard is great.
I was this close to paying someone. I did it when I first moved in, got the yard done and everything. But then now I'm like, you know what? I need to learn how to do this. So I bought my blower, air blower, everything, the leaf blower and everything, the mulcher for it.
Now I know who I can borrow it from. So that's what I'm learning too. I'm learning to borrow things from all my friends.
Yeah.
Because these are not things that burn.
As long as it comes back working, no problem.
That's it. But I'm like, because these aren't things that like this, the sexist gendered side. I mean, like, these aren't things that I'm a really in, but I'm learning to do them because as an independent woman, I also want to be able to do them myself.
Yeah, you have to.
It's that balance, but I think it's more about, I think what you're saying too just gets to time and efficiency. So like those hours that the gentleman was outside raking my leaves and taking care of my yard, like I was getting other work done, right?
Exactly.
And so you learn to prioritize, and you learn to really think about what's a reasonable expense during this time.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, I could be doing this with my money. I'm like, no, I could buy this for the home and do this.
Yeah.
Let me go do that. And that's another thing people don't tell you. They tell you, oh, okay, you close a home, you have, your down payment, your closing costs. They don't tell you it can jump up and down. So that's another thing that found out because I was like, wait, what happened? Why did this go up? And I thought you quoted me this. And 2 days before, you're telling me I need to pay an extra $2,000 more than I was supposed to. Cool, no problem.
Right.
And then last but not least, the moving part. People don't tell you about that expense, having to move, having to purchase furniture and all of that. That is another big expense that's most
getting the house organized.
Organizing, make sure you have the money to do all of that. And
the time. I'd say money and time.
Yeah.
It's one thing. Because I also nothing in life sometimes could be easy, right? You just have to learn. You just have to, I guess figure it out as you go. But I moved, started school, and was working at all at the busiest times, right? So law school is its own world, its own experience. Home ownership is something I've never gone through before. And then my job within Boston was at its peak. And it's also at its peak given COVID. So thankfully I had no hair because I would cut my hair all the time, but I wanted to pull out my hair. The little bit of it that I had, I wanted to I couldn't even be in that space. And it's now that I'm kind of getting through because I'm still in final season, but it's now that I'm kind of getting closer to that finish line, if you will, that I'm like, oh, wow, that was a lot for me. Right. But I still can't even sit in the moment and process how intense that was because I still have finals. And so I'm like tunnel vision. But the minute December 17th comes, either I'm going to be crying or I'm going to be celebrating. I don't even know. Maybe I'll do both at the same time because these few months have been intense. And I thank God for my community because I think that the other thing, and I see for home ownership or anytime, right, we're transitioning in life, it's about your community too. And your team really can keep you grounded. And so even though I didn't talk to my TUC fam as much, or I didn't talk to, there were people when we did get to connect, I'm like, I know that people are doing well. And so that helps you to focus in on what you need to do as well as your MIA. And you have to remove yourself in order to focus on your priorities. So what has been maybe one of your most enjoyable moments as a dad?
Just watching him sleep.
Really?
He's such a joyous baby. Watching him sleep, I know it's every baby does this, but I feel like everybody says it's your own child. You just notice it more, and those are things I would watch other people's kids, but not for that long, so I wouldn't get to see these moments. But when he falls asleep, he loves falling asleep on someone. So at night, that's his go-to. Either he falls asleep on his mom or on me or anything like that. So holding him that first month or so was amazing. And watching him smile in the middle of sleep. He has this smile, one cheek goes up and he smiles with the side of his lips. That right there melts my heart. I'm just like, oh. And then now that he's talking, it's awesome. I have full-blown conversations with him. My wife looks at me like, what are you doing? I will, my end of day, pick him up. Hey, how are you? What's going on? How was your day? He starts actually speaking back and I'm like, yeah, really? We're going back and forth for 30 minutes or so talking to each other. And that is that's priceless. That is priceless. To me, I'm getting goosebumps actually just talking about it right now. That's priceless. That's one of the most amazing things, just to see the growth, even over this 10 weeks.
I can only imagine. It's tough too, because I think that this time has been really difficult for everyone given COVID. But in some aspects, and we've mentioned this earlier too, that in a lot of this pain, a lot of this uncertainty, there's just a lot of growth and a lot of assurance too. And I think opportunities to really bond, right? So if you were having to go to work, it just bonding with a newborn wouldn't look the same, right? And I think about that for my home and for perspective and placing value on friendships and family and prioritizing things. And I said, I struggled. We're gonna have to talk about that another day too. But I was trying to be COVID social and school at the same time because I was like, it's me, myself, and I in these walls. And school humbled me. It was like, oh, you think you're gonna do it this way? No.
Talking about that you said school humbled you. So what is the biggest lesson you've learned so far being your first semester in law school, and what advice would you give to other people out there that thinking about it?
Yeah, so I actually been processing this too. So I think I want to blog about it a little bit or make videos of some sort because Yeah, you're different when you go through this. This is like you're going through like educational hazing. Um, in a good way, right? Because you're just learning so much. But I say, and I'm pausing because like I've really been thinking about this a lot. Like what has this taught me? I think it's taught me a lot. I think it's taught me about the importance of pacing myself, the importance of truly placing value on time management. I think I'll say that. I'll say time management because I went to grad school. I went to undergrad. I went to grad school. And I was always like, I was a person who could get her work done, but could multitask. Mind you, nobody should be multitasking but whatever. I would multitask to get work done. And that's just how I was operating. Law school has taught me that like I would easily think, oh, this case is like 3 pages, 4 pages. Like that's not that long. But the way you have to break down a case in law school, right? When you have to look at the facts, the holdings, the reasoning, like this, that, and the third, and you just the way you're figuring out the information and breaking it down for yourself. 1 page could easily be like 20-30 minutes or not an hour of your time, depending on how it goes. And so that's been a steep learning curve for me to really understand, like, one assignment is not really like a few hours. One assignment could legitimately be a day. And having to understand that an assignment is a day, right? When you're juggling a job, when you're juggling a company, when you want to still be social in some ways, when you want to like welcome people into a new home, when you want to like spread your wings a little bit and branch out in your community, like when you want to be this person, you really have to take a bite of that humble pie and recognize like, well, if you said you're going to go to law school is all you're going to do. And I hear people say that to me, and I've heard people, my friends have counseled me that way. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but it'll be cool. But I'm like, no. Like, if you're going to go to law school is your number one priority in many respects, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge to really manage that time to get all of your work done. And I'm not just in one class, right? So part-time for law school is 4 classes. Undergrad full-time is 4 classes. Graduate school full-time is 4 classes. And 4 classes is part-time, right? So that's the other thing. I'm managing a full-time caseload, an equivalent of full-time caseload of coursework, like a full-time and a half job worth of homework, going to school full-time, managing clients within my company, and just trying to figure out who I am and like what I want to do with this degree, which is forever evolving. And I think I figured out what my next steps are going to be. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, just pacing yourself. Also recognizing that like, writing talents, just law school is different. Pace it. Everything you have to do with writing, it just takes a lot of time. And so I've made amends, and I'm super transparent as a person. I made amends recognizing that this semester is probably going to be the lowest grades I've ever received in my entire life. But this was also the semester where I was like actually learning how to learn this, right? After not being in school for 5 years. I graduated grad school in 2015. And so here I am again, 5 years out of the game, also adding work to it. I joked with you guys and I said, don't ever do this like full time. Like this makes no sense. But here we are and making it count.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Before we move on, real quick, becoming a homeowner, has you seen a change in your immediate circle as far as what they are trying to do? Is it making people that said, oh, I don't want to buy a home now, is it making them say, okay, you know what, let me think about it a little bit better? Because I've seen that has happened to me. People that were like, I'm not buying a home, or I don't want to do this, I don't care. I've spoken to them. I'm like, hey, the process is much easier than you think. Making sure you have your stuff right. But once you do, go for it. A lot of people are so scared of going through with it and making that leap. And I felt like there's so much that you're not told about. But not only that you're not told about, there's so many myths out there. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, oh, I don't have to do any of that. This is just boom, boom, here you go. I have my money in. I'm ready. My credit is good. Let's move forward. So things like that, I think, has affected, I know, close friends of mine's, other friends that I know. And that's made me happy, because I'm like, I can't wait till they also purchase their homes and do that. I don't know if that's something you've seen.
Yeah. So I came into this position where I had some friends who already own homes or condos, and then I had some who have yet to do that. And then, and I was trying to figure it out for myself. I think that definitely owning a home has inspired a good amount of my friends. I think that when I let people know that I made this happen and people are able to come to my home and see how I've transitioned it into a house, like into a space to really flourish and to thrive. Everyone is just like so excited. They can't wait they can't wait to be part of the process for themselves or to undergo the process for themselves. And so definitely, but I think part of the conversation now I'm thinking about is, well, what's next, right? So I've acquired this home. People are like, well, it's an American dream. It's this, that, and the third. But, I think once you get here too, it's humbling and you appreciate it. But then you're like, well, what else am I going to do with this? And what does the next step look like? So what is that next property going to look like? How am I going to educate my friends and my peers and my family members so that they can acquire more property or flip their property? Like I think about, am I going to expand on this house, or am I going to take the equity from this house and place it on another property? I think about what other states do I want to own property at, because owning in Boston is hella expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I think about owning here, I think about, well, how many acres of land I can get in another state. I'm like, well,
don't do that. I learned to not do that.
I'm like,
I did that a few times, and I was so bad. I was just going to move into Atlanta, y'all. I'm like,
let me go to Atlanta. Let me go to Houston. Let me go to North Carolina. Let me go anywhere. Actually.
Yeah, I can get a mansion, for the price that I pay.
I can sincerely be in a. But then I also think, right? You made a comment earlier when we were talking about a home, and I'm like, well, the more property you have, the more you have to manage too.
And
then I think about that. I'm like, well, do I want to live in a mansion by myself? No, because who will never sleep? Me. Because I can't control these rooms. I'm like, it's impossible. I'll be like, wall right. Did you hear that? Wall left. Did you, like, I'm going to have to make best friends with my neighbors. And I mean, my neighbors are great now, but so I think about that, but honestly, really what I mean is it definitely shifts mindsets every time. I'm grateful to have, I think anybody who is looking to grow as an individual also needs to grow as a tribe and as a community. And so like my community, my space, my team, we all want to grow. And so some of them who have a house already, they're talking about what it's going to take to own the next one. I'm talking about who do I need to connect with so maybe we can buy a building or buy a block, right? I'm thinking about what does savings and financing and investment truly look like, because you can invest in your home, but then you can also take that money and invest somewhere else. For example, it can cost you $20,000 or $25,000 to redo a basement in your house, right? You might want to say, like, I'm going to take that $20,000 to $25,000 to invest in my basement because I think it's needed for my house. Or you can say that's $20,000 to $25,000 you could put down on another house. Where are you, right? Like, what do you want to do? And it just definitely opens up your mind to what you're looking to do. And I think that, again, as a proud, like, Black woman, hands down, my team is just like, go ahead, sis, right? And I'm saying the same thing to my brothers. I'm saying the same thing to my other sisters, like, go ahead, us, because I really do believe when one wins, we all win, and this is just part of it. This is part of it, to be able to say that we own in Boston. It's securing it, it's maintaining it, but it's also having those conversations where we're not spending for the sake of spending, right? So like my money, my relationship with my money is different. Because I'm like, I definitely want to get out of here, but then I'm like, I definitely need to have more money in reserve, so just in case, right?
Do I take that trip, or do I fix this in the house?
Right, but luckily I bought a house where it was like move-in ready, but you just never know, right? Exactly. And then you want to secure. I just want to secure comfort. But I also want to change the narrative in our reality as Black people, where we are living paycheck to paycheck. As a first generation Haitian American who grew up with no money and a single mom who worked her butt off for her children, right? Like, I know what it's like to really work for what you want and what you need, especially what you need. And let me tell y'all, there's a difference in living when you work for what you want versus what you need. When you have to slave for what you need for bare necessities, it changes perspective. And so I'm coming from that, right? And so I'm still not the person who's like, oh, let me go do this, like, let me go spend here, because I'm like, well, what happens, right? Like, let's not be too confident, let's not be too cocky, let's not be too arrogant and think like, oh, like, this is it. So It's humbling even for myself. How about you? How about you? Like having a child is hella expensive. So you go from a house and a child, both major expenses.
I was having this conversation with my best friend, and he was like, "Yo, you're an adult." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Man, you went from renting to having a kid and also owning a home in the same month. Like, how does it feel?" And I'm like, you know what? Because it's something like having a kid is something that I've dreamt about, wished for, and everything like that. So I'm glad that happened. So I was very excited. That was the most exciting thing. The home ownership part was the part that I was like, you know what? I wanted it, but it wasn't something that I was pushing as much for. It was a goal of mine. Like, okay, we're going to do this. I know it's going to happen, but I wasn't like, oh, okay, this needs to happen. Or it wasn't something that I was sitting there planning for years. I always saved. I was raised by my parents to save, by my mother, I should say, to save. So I'm always saving. I'm always making sure that I do stuff the right way. So it wasn't overwhelming. It was just full of excitement and full of gratitude too. There's a lot of people that I had to thank, from my mother, my wife, family, and friends. Because sometimes things are happening around you and you don't see how they're pushing you forward and pushing you into a certain circle. And now looking back at it, I look back and I say, you know what? I'm glad I have these people around me, because these people, the things that they've done has pushed me internally and be like, yo, this person's doing this. Why can't you do it? It's not you're better than the person or anything like that. It's kind of like, hey, you can do this too. This is achievable. This is a dream that you can have for yourself also. So that I've appreciate, and I've really loved that part of it. I've been appreciative, man. Just happy. Like my mother never owned a home. She still doesn't own a home to this day. She was just single mother, had to work, pay the bills and everything, support me as a single parent and everything, support her mother, that came from Haiti to come live with her and all of that. So that is something, even for her, like the day I got the key and I brought her over, I'm like, this is not just my home. This is your home too. This is us getting this. Like, this is us getting this. So that made me very happy and excited to see that. And she was excited. Like, and my mother doesn't show excitement. My mother's very like stern, straight face. Like, yes, everything is. She was like excited and like was like, oh my God, Stefan, this is so like, I'm excited. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, you talk about parents and being excited. I think it's the same for my mom. Like, before I could even open up my doors to her and to others, she was like, come see Bernadine's house. Like, come over, go see her. And I'm like, can I invite people to come see can I make sure I'm home maybe? I know. And you just ask me if I even am ready for guests. Like, I don't know, but the joy that our families have, particularly our mothers, I think is real, right? My mother owns her home, but that's been its own process, right? As a single mom, again, like owning a house and trying to keep a house while trying to raise 3 children, trying to manage tenants. Like, she's my shero. And to even be able to own a home in the neighborhood that I own it now is the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I'm not far from her. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, I can't wait to get away from my mother. Like, oh, like, now I'm like so close to her, and I'm like, it's a heaven sent for me, because she's also supportive of me being in school. And so she'll come by and she'll drop food off and drinks, and she'll just be like, are you eating? Like, how are you doing? How are just how are you? And I think that when your best friend talked to you about adulting, I think that this is part of it, right? Where adulting also changes your relationship with your parents, right? And so parents, at least for me, my adulthood has brought me closer to my mom, because I understand struggle. I understand the importance of keeping the lights off in every room that you're not in, right? Like, because I'm like,
don't put the heat up too high.
Paying it right, the heat, the electricity, the water. Like, do I really need to wash all these clothes right now? Like, I have to wait it out a couple more days. Do I need to use the dishwasher every day? Probably not. Do I need to
I turned my house into a whole smart house because of that. I'm like, nope, switching out all the lights, everything because of that. I'm like, nope, I'm not trying to deal with regular lights and all. Everything.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's real. It's so real. And to Joanne, who talks about Haitian parents having to show off their kids' accomplishments, absolutely. And I'll tell you, there's no prouder parent out there than I would say Caribbean ones. Okay, like the Caribbean ones, they will stand at the mountaintop. So
them being first generation
changes everything.
That to see that they came here, worked their butts off, and to see as a parent, like, okay, I had gave all that I could for my child, and now they're accomplishing their goals and their dreams is amazing. And that's one of those things. I'm like, I can't wait till that happens to me. And I'm like, oh, look at my son.
I know. You inspire me. Actually, that statement too. I'm like, we got to think about our next Mother's Day segment. Maybe we should have our mothers on the show, because I think that their experiences are different, right? And just like watching their children and like what we do and who we become out of their sacrifices, like that's what being a parent is all about. So people ask me when do I want to have children? When do I want to settle down, if you will? But I don't look at it as settling down. I look at it as a settling up. Like it's just a different. Or not even. I want to take the word settle out of it. I think it's just another chapter in your life, right? And I think that parenting is such a blessing and such a major responsibility that it's not something I just want to half-ass and do. Like I have to be ready to sacrifice everything that I have for a child. Like nobody wants to be up at 3:00 in the morning just to look at a child when you have crust on your eyes and you're like exhausted. But the child doesn't know anything. What'd you say?
I said, I don't know how single mothers do it. I got to give it a hand. Like,
single mothers, single fathers, grandparents who take in their children's children.
That is difficult.
Their kids can't do it. Anybody, right? People who are raising children that aren't theirs, like anybody who's raising children. I especially during this time, COVID, where you are trying to balance your job. Like I was in one of my classes, and unexpectedly, one of my classmates had his son in a Bjorn, and like Bjorn. I always mess up that word. But anyway, I was just like rocking the baby to sleep. And I'm like, here we go. Let's go civil procedure and baby. Like, let's have contracts and baby. Let's have these conversations, right? But it's about that versatility. It's about that resilience. It's about that commitment to what you're looking to do. And so children are a blessing, and these chapters are beautiful. I wait for the person who I want to have that. I want to embark on that next chapter with, then and I will take it very seriously. But to all of you who are doing it, I commend you, because again, like I said, for you, where you have an infant during this time, you're closer to your baby. For somebody who's trying to raise a 7-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old during this time when kids are stuck in the house, like you're a different kind of hero. You're a different kind of shero. Then to want your child to do more than you is real, right? Like our parents came to this country for us to have more opportunities. So I'm geeked out. I get cheesy when I think about what I've been able to accomplish, because I did that for my mom, right? Because and this is a woman that I've been learning to become closer and more connected with, because we have our own history, right? But the older you get and the more responsible you become,
you see the stuff.
You appreciate it. And like, I remember my mom being so stressed and so overwhelmed and so angry. But I understand now too, like that was projected because she was doing it by herself. And nobody can do that by themselves all the time. Pay all these bills, support all these kids. Show up for work, make meals every day. Kids don't even want to eat because they want to be hella American.
I want McDonald's.
Right. Eat McDonald's, or like I don't even know. Things you pop in a toaster when your mother took time to season meat for you. Like it.
Yo.
It's just different. This is been like
this is what we're talking about now on the talk show.
You said what?
I said, this is why we're getting old. This is what we're talking about now in the talk show.
But this is it. I'm like, I think COVID has really just been a time of reflection too. So it's just shifted my mind a little bit. It shifted my mind a lot actually. Like
it's made me appreciate people more. It's made me appreciate relationships more. Even though in the past I was always out, TUC, other stuff. We're always out and about. We were very busy. Two individuals that were busy. And now I feel like I've stayed in touch and have gotten closer to my inner circle than in the past. Now I've reached more. I'm okay. Even my own cousins and families, like we used to speak to each other once or twice a year or so like that. Now almost every month we're reaching out, we're visiting each other and everything like that, which is much, much better than it used to be in the past. And even never had any issues. It was just we were all busy. So that's one thing that I would say this year it's I'll appreciate about this year also.
I like that. That's COVID blessings. Then talk to me about more COVID blessings. So you've been able to build strong relationships with your family. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you would say were like COVID blessings?
That's about it. I would say that. I mean, COVID has taken away also from me. I haven't had anybody personally in my direct family that has passed away, but it's been like, friends of the family, real close friends of the family. Actually some family members, but distant family, distant relatives that has passed away from COVID. It's gotten people sick that I didn't even think were gonna get sick. People that were like, oh, I'm good, I'm healthy and everything like that, that you were not suspecting, that you're like, oh, wow. So it's kind of given me a couple of scares. I will say that. There's certain people like, wow, okay. And that's made me kind of slow down a little bit and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this a lot more serious than a lot more people are taking it. Like looking at the numbers now, it's ridiculous, but
we're increasing all over again. We surpassed, I think.
Yeah. The trend that is going on, I think they say by in the next week or two, we're going to surpass what it was at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, how can people, it just seems like people don't care at this point. They're just tired. And I understand it. Trust me. Like I told myself, I'm like, hey, the minute this is over with, take some trips. I'm going to go out. I'm probably going to party again where I don't party all the time like that anymore. Yeah, I'll celebrate, but let it pass. Let it pass. And people are tired. You see people that are just like doing things. And I'm just like, even this past weekend, Thanksgiving, we celebrated Thanksgiving here in the States for anybody that's listening around the world. It's a day of celebration. It's a day of thankfulness. And a lot of people, they were told, do not go and celebrate it with other members of your family. If the person's not in your immediate family, stay home. Just celebrate it with your members in your immediate home. So many people visit people that year. I was looking at earlier, there was a map that they showed of just 3 universities around the United States. Penn State, University of Texas, and Ohio State. Between those 3 schools, they trace the cell phone signals from the kids that attend those schools. And it shows you on the map where they've been within the past 2 weeks. Within the past week, the 5 days. So from Tuesday last week to Monday yesterday, November 30th. And it was all over the map. So they're like, this is what they were talking about people going back home, spreading this disease and this virus to people and not knowingly carrying it. Just looking at that map, I was like, wow, like that kind of like, okay, nope, you reinforced it again. So I always keep getting these weird reinforcements. But COVID's been good and bad, man. But it's the bad has outweighed the good, I would say, because death, nothing can.
Yeah, no, death is tough.
Nothing can top that.
Death is definitely tough. Lost some people during this time too. I also think, again, this time has just been a deep moment of reflection for me. So I think that, like, I don't even define loss as just a physical death at this point. I think like people have struggled emotionally during this time. People have struggled physically during this time. I think, nobody who came into this pandemic is going to be the same out of this pandemic. So we're losing parts of ourselves too along this way. And I think for myself, I've lost parts of myself. And I've experienced like family who have struggled a lot through this, or friends who have struggled a lot through this. And I even went through my roller coaster ride through all of this. And yes, there are so many blessings, but I find myself feeling guilty sometimes to feel bad and to feel frustrated and to feel like I just need to get out of here. Like I need to go back to normalcy, because again, right, not that the way we were was any good, but just being more mobile and being in a position where I'm not forced to be restricted was liberating for me. And but I have to remind myself, like, I have to sacrifice for the short term to be able to enjoy the long term. But nobody wants to go through their first experience of law school on a computer. And it's already a hard program, right? So like you're trying to manage that and figure it out. Nobody wants to, go through what should have been the prime of their 30s as my entry year to chapter 30 in a house, like in a house all day, like all day. You log into work, you log out of work, you log into school, you log out of school, you are socializing with yourself and your friends, whoever can come by, but then you can't really engage with them too much because you have to go back to work and you have to go back to school, and it's all in the same house. Like, even though I can change rooms, you just need fresh air. You need a change of scenery, right? But then when in the back of your mind, like, you're compromising people, but then you also know that if you stay in your house, you're compromising yourself. It just puts you in a at least I can speak for me. It just put me in a difficult position to really just find a groove. But we're here, and I'm looking forward to what our newly elected President Biden and VP Kamala Harris are going to do for the world. Y'all need to get rid of all of these school loans, number one. Two, I would love it, but that's huge, right? So like, we can't even acknowledge it as much. Like, we have the first woman of color VP. She's Asian and Black, like, woman of color VP. Now, I wasn't on air to talk about how I wasn't even a fan of Kamala Harris, to be honest. Like, she wasn't one of them. Definitely like what happened. Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is still the GOAT, though, because she came through with Georgia, like, showed us how great she is. But whatever, I digress. But we have her in there. I have to celebrate her. Biden. Yo, I don't know. You just been living a crazy 4 years, so I really don't know.
I'm hoping for normalcy again. Like, this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for normalcy again because, like you said, it's been a crazy 4 years. And I just needed to get back to
with the man who didn't think COVID was real, just to have COVID himself, by the way.
Yeah, and did not care, and was just like, "How do you have
jokes of it made it
rally? You hold a rally with thousands, tens of thousands of people, and you just caught this, and you're just like, oh, I'm fine. That's no problem." You're sending the wrong signal. So those are certain things that you see, and you're like, you're supposed to be the leader of the United States.
Yeah, but that man was not. I mean, leadership.
I don't know.
He's leading. He's just not leading the type of people we want.
I gotta ask you though, were you scared? I did not sleep the night of the election. I did not sleep till probably like 4 a.m. And even then it was like sleeping and waking up every half hour. Like, what's going on?
I went to bed at 2. But I also knew that even when I was going to bed, that the decision wasn't going to be made because of the way that the mail-in votes and things like that happened this year. But I was nervous. I'll be honest. And again, right, like, the culturally competent, conscious side of me is looking like we still almost had Trump be in office. Like, this country is hella racist and does not care about equity and access for all people. Like, we had COVID happen and the passing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's case magnified during this time. And Ahmaud Arbery, who, by the way, was killed in February. We talked about him during COVID in like May, June. Right? Really talked about the significance of his life and his death. So like, racial challenges were at the forefront. We're already coming up in America, but we're intensified given the pandemic. And we were still having to beg people of color to show up for themselves. We were still having to beg white people to be allies and to be conscious and to be woke and present. And we were still having to encourage people who have rights to vote to show up for themselves. And I'm like, and we still had to talk to white folks about why these racist ideologies aren't racist ideologies that we should be supporting. So like, and he's still like,
I know. So that part right there, that he won by, I mean, now the vote has widened and everything, but
but at the time
that he won by was a lot lower than I thought that he was going to win by. I know it was going to be a landslide because I know, there's some deep red states, they're not going to change their mind. But to know that in America till this day, 2020.
I mean, I don't know what kind of world we need to live in, honestly.
This is the world we live in, and this is the things that are happening, and this is the way people believe that this man who has not cared about this disease and this virus that's spreading to everyone, only cared about himself, his people, has kind of ignored stuff, has talked bad about the military and its members, saying how they are stupid.
Talked about people of color, talked about healthcare, talked about education.
Like, I was looking at the numbers, like, employment. It should not have been this close. It should not have been this close. And then the other part too, how the Spanish support that he got. I'm like, do you guys forget about a year ago, last January, what were we talking about? Kids being in prison?
It's the Latin community, it's the Black community. He got rappers to support him. I'm like, first of all, do you even know who 50 Cent is? I don't understand. Like, what do you know about 50 Cent? Like, who? And then who signed him up to speak on the behalf of the entire population? And I felt like it was Kanye. Again, right? Like Kanye, let's not forget, folks. Kanye was also on the Trump train for a while. So I'm like, listen, like, I think that this time also demonstrated that level of ignorance, but also how people have understood Black people to a science, if you will, to really understand that if you're trying to get through a particular type of person, these are the people that will influence them, right? And so here we are at a time where, again, it's the state of our country. And you have some rappers who, like, we don't even really follow like that. And 50's a bully, by the way. Like, so, you know, he's a social media bully. You know, like talking about things and getting people who wouldn't even vote to go out and vote for somebody who's not even going to be for them. I'm like, this is also the same person who would shot in the street without a problem. So, like, what are we?
They care about their pockets, Bernadine. That's what it is. A lot of this race showed you who cared about each other, who cared about the people, and who just cared about themselves and their pockets.
Well, that's what 2020 was about in general.
The rich people, all of that, they're voting for him because they know he's gonna help them out. He's gonna give them all these tax breaks and everything. You know, the man paid what? Less in taxes than I did. So I'm gonna keep it at that. So it was very frustrating, like just watching this whole result. Even though I got the outcome that I wanted, it still doesn't feel as good as it should have felt. Like I remember when Obama won, I was just like elated. Now I'm just like, okay.
Well, I think part of it is because we're not. I think part of it is because people in this country, even though, yes, we clearly outlined a lot of the challenges that took place in this election and humanity, but I think that racism and inequities are so deep and are deeply understood on a level now that I don't think it was felt before, that people are recognizing that even though you have a VP of color, that doesn't mean anything. Like there's still, this is, and Biden is in there, right? The House, the Senate, we still need to have perspectives that make a difference, right? When we're talking about passing legislation and policies and laws and things that really will impact the country. But also, like, we learned from Barack Obama, who was, again, right, was symbolized. He symbolized hope. And that was his whole thing, right? Hope and prosperity and progress and all of that, but still made a lot of mistakes and still hurt the human race as well, right? And so now we have Kamala, who's a woman of color, who people are like warming up to even more now, but recognizing that the world has gone through such deep, intense times. And like civil rights, the civil rights movement is still prevalent. It just looks a little different right now. Like we're not out here talking about legally having the right to sit at the same table as a white person, but we can sit at the table as a white person, and we're still fighting to be heard at the table with the white person, right? So it's like we're still having the same conversations. They just progressed a little bit. And so I think that for the first time, on a national level, as a country, we're feeling that. So we're excited. And we're like, okay, great, but we know that that's not enough, right? This is the pregame. That's what I call it. I said right now we're at the pregame to all of this, right? So like, game day is not even until Biden and Kamala are in that office, sworn in, and have worked for like 6 months. Like that's game day. Like they still because again we're still having to get their feet wet. They still have to show up. They still have to change culture. They still have to like be present in a way that is showing people that they matter. Also, Trump wants to run again, and he can, right? Because you can be president twice.
Exactly, twice. Yeah.
But it's going to be based on how Biden and Kamala do, right? Biden needs to stay healthy, and Biden needs to not be crazy. Like,
he already fractured his foot, so I'm like,
I'm saying, I didn't even know that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we have like real things going on. The world also needs to. This is also going to be a pivotal time where, again, right? We saw Kamala Harris, we see Stacey Abrams, we see a lot of people of color, like Haitian women, African American women like getting places in office and assuming responsibilities and assuming roles. But like this is also going to be the time where, as a country, we're going to understand or figure out whether or not we truly respect the Black woman. Because the Black women are in various tiers of leadership in our country. And what is that going to look like? Like, what does that mean? Right. And so
that's
America has a lot of evolution. We have a lot that we have to continue to monitor.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about Biden and what he's been doing, because not only did he promise, hey, my cabinet is going to look different. The people that helped me get here, they will be rewarded. So far, he stood by his word. His cabinet, full of women. They're
like all women.
Like,
and I think we have three Black women
today. Full of women, all women. A majority of his people are women. VPs are women. So I definitely love seeing that. But we still have so far to go. There's still a lot that needs to be done in this country. And right now, state of Massachusetts that we live in, where right now talking about defunding the police and changing the way that the police department is funded, the way that it works, the way they respond. And a lot of people are against it. The state police is against it themselves. And why? Why are you against it? You know, so it's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, we've gone so far, but there's still like
a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm hoping that 2020 doesn't change and 2021 comes and everybody is kind of like, okay, you know what? That was just one of those abnormalities that just happened. 2020 was just weird. Let's just leave everything there and push forward like nothing happened. That's one of the things I'm kind of afraid of. I'm hoping that the stuff that has happened teaches us a lesson on infrastructure, for healthcare, for backup, for all of that, for disease
mental health, for community in the place of work, for healthy conversations with your children, for healthy conversations with your partners, for healthy conversations with yourself, for the importance of physical health, right? A lot of people have gained so much weight, myself included, during this time. And I'm sitting here like, people need to be mobile, stimulate your minds too. I'm like, this is also a time where we have to intentionally try to stay stimulated, because again, like being stuck behind a computer, being stuck behind a phone, that's not it, y'all. Like y'all gotta, like, we people still have to move. Like,
it's hard. And even myself, like having a new space, I have an office and everything like that, coming down, like walking from the upstairs bedrooms, coming to the basement, that alone is a big change. Whereas before it was, I would get up, work out of the side of my bedroom or work in my living room and everything. Having an office, having a space to say, okay, this is work. This is where I'm going to do work. And then at the end of the day,
that's it.
And go somewhere else and do something else. Go back with my family and enjoy it, and not look around and see, oh wow, that's the laptop right there. My work laptop's right there. My phone's right there. My tablet's right there. If it goes off, having to be like, oh, what's going on? Nope, it's downstairs. I took care of what I need to take care of today. I'll get back to it tomorrow when my work day starts, whether it's a long day and everything. One thing also, I've realized our work days have gotten longer. I don't know about you. My workday has gotten longer because in the
past, I don't even think there's a difference. I just think
no, for me, I feel like there is.
Like, no. I'm saying like there's just no separation of time. I just work all the time. I just
I start working, and I'm working a little bit earlier because I'm like, you know what? I don't have to drive, so let me start a little bit earlier. But at the same time, not having that drive and that commute that I used to have. Now, at the end of my day or towards the middle of my day, where I would be going from one location to another, I don't have that. Everything's virtual meetings now. So I don't know about you. Have you had more Zoom calls or, virtual calls compared to before?
I think that in the very beginning, it was like Zoom overload. I was like, yo, we need rules.
Meeting.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, even for myself, I hosted events virtually, and I took a moment of pause for that to, transition into other chapters of my life. And I'm going to pick back up on it again. But I definitely think that there's Zoom fatigue in the world, right? I think people still feel it. I actually feel like I need to go to an eye doctor because I think I spend too much time in front of a computer.
I have to get new glasses.
But it's not even new glasses. I just think that like I'm just in front of a computer for more than 12 hours a day. So like every day, right? Yeah. So like because I don't have access to a library and school the same way. Like everything I'm reading is on the computer.
On your
tablet. Are on the computer. Work is on the computer. Then if I'm not on that and I'm connected with the world, I'm doing it on a phone. So like it's just so much like I'm like I have no eyeballs. Like
your eyes are straight. There's like these glasses I just got. There's a tint that they can put in there for you. I don't know if you can get the light shine. It's a little bit blue. It helps with you.
I'm gonna have to get that because I think that's where it is for me. Where
make sure you know that if you go to your eye doctor, let them know like, hey, I'm staring at the screen all day. There's a layer of something you can pass above on there, and they can do it on any glasses. So whether you have sunglasses or non-prescription, they can still put it on there for you to help out.
Because like I said, I don't think I'm gonna be able to see by the end of this pandemic.
Yeah, we don't want that.
It's just not working for me. It's really not. Like I can't. Yeah. I'm sensitive. I'm getting sensitive to light, and I think it's because I'm constantly in front of this computer. But I think people are yearning connection, right? I think we're trying to find ways on my team to keep everybody engaged and connected to one another. But it's tough because people are genuinely still scared, and I have friends who almost lost relatives, their parents. I have friends who have lost close relatives.
Yeah,
like I said, and like it's just. It runs the gamut of how people are feeling, what's going on in the world. And I think that now people don't even want to have their cameras on. I think people didn't care to have the cameras on before, but I think now people are like, honestly, I'm good. Like I'm here. Tell me what you need to tell me.
Exactly.
People are like, it's like new norms, but I always go back to, I'm always nervous for my young people, and I'm always nervous for my vulnerable population, because I think that, like kids are learning in this way, and have been learning in this way for almost a year. They're going to be learning this way for over a year. People, we don't talk about it as much, but the death rates from COVID, not just from the virus, but from domestic violence, are still real. Negligence from, food scarcity in America is real. Social emotional displacement and acknowledgement is still something that needs to happen for our young people and our older people. Mental health is still real, right? When we do open up again, I've always said this, like people who are socially anxious beings are going to be anxious again. People who have isolated themselves from all germs are going to get sick in a different way again. And so it's just, I think that as a community, we need to start having the well-rounded conversations. But yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, though, I'm grateful for life and I'm grateful for health. But this has certainly been a time of exploration, a time of processing. Living by myself has had me in my own head for a long time, and that's been really great because I've been able to process hurts and sadness and celebrate a lot of great joys, which I think I would recommend anybody actually to live by yourself before anything, at least once. For a few months, if not a couple of years, because it just makes a difference in how you connect with people, but most importantly, how you connect with yourself.
Yes, y'all. Last question of the night. You taking the vaccine?
No. you know this. Like, why we having this conversation? You taking the vaccine? I'm not. If I take this, I'm going to be like the 5th wave, 8th, 10th, 100th wave.
You until 2022 to take it?
Listen, I'm waiting to hear what all the side effects are. I'm waiting to hear people grow extra fingers. Women, they're gonna know how it's gonna happen. Like they're gonna find a study. Like if you were part of the 2021 first of vaccines, please seek a doctor because you will be inclined to make money off of this lawsuit. Okay, I don't want to be the lawsuit person. I don't need it. I don't need it. I just need to be okay.
Yeah, right? I'll take it, but like you, I want to wait and see. I'm in a wait and see mode because we're out in the public. We're public figures. We're out in the public. So if you're gonna be walking around doing all of this, you're gonna have to take it because otherwise, you're putting yourself at a greter risk. But I'm not saying right now. It's not. We're looking at spring, the earliest that it'll be widely available or stuff like that. So
you ain't gonna see me. You ain't gonna. No. I'm not because I'm just not. I'm not there. I'm not there. I don't trust it. You know, like, I mean, I remember when they had the first iterations of like piloting certain vaccines. And I'm like, first of all, Africa was not even the first continent to even have access to this or to contract this virus. And they were testing it on us. You know, like, I just feel like Black people, the world abuses us. And I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm not inviting it into my space. I need to hear success stories. I need to see success stories. I need to see white people being vaccinated and living. I need to make sure that doctors are administering the same vaccine to all people. I need you to have critical conversations, right? So like people of color are dying from COVID at exponential rates because we already have pre-existing health conditions. So how are you taking that into account, into consideration with this? Are you weakening our immune system in order to make us stronger? How are you taking that into consideration? How are you taking somebody with asthma into consideration? How are you taking somebody who's overweight into consideration? How are you taking somebody who is an elderly person into consideration, right? Like I think about that. What is the price point going to be for this? Is it free for everybody? Is it covered for jobs? If you're unemployed, you know what I'm saying? Okay, is there a different version, the free one versus the name brand? You know what I'm saying?
I want what the billionaires are gonna get. I want that.
You know what I'm saying? You know, like, and I'm like, these are all these conversations, and what this is a conversation about time, right? Time will help us to understand all of this. It's not going to be from day one. It's going to be from progress. So, you know, I need to know, am I okay with the Walgreens brand or do I have to get the ones with the letters I can't pronounce? You know, like, I don't know. So, right. That's the saying. Like, we don't have good relations with the medical field. So like, yeah, like we have to wait it out. We have to wait it out. Like that's where I stand, right? Because again, Henrietta Lacks and that story is real. Like we Tuskegee experiment, like again, Black people, we are used and abused. Like I can't watch history repeat itself and know the possibilities of history repeating itself and then just leading it with ignorance or leading the child. I can't. But again, I tell anybody who's sincerely like in a fragile state, like don't let Bernadine's choices deter you from going. If you want to make that happen, do what is best for you. It's just for me, I have to wait and see what happens in this world because again, I don't think that as much as we can say Black Lives Matter, I think dollars matter more, unfortunately. And I have yet to be in a place where I feel 100% secure that a Black Life matters just as much as money in America. And, you know, these are conversations with this is why I'm in the system, right? To unpack it, to address it, to acknowledge it. But we can't combat and dismantle systems without having real conversations about what they are and how they exist to begin with.
Well, Urban Collective, this was our first show back. We're happy to be back. We could have stayed all night talking. As you know, me and Bernadine, we've been going for a while. So thank you for catching up with us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for the loyalty. That's when you realize, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, we have people that really are loyal followers and everything like that. So thank you to each and every single listener. We appreciate you very, very, very much. Without you, we would not be here. We would not even be back probably without you. So thank you. We appreciate you. Make sure to tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend. Follow us at the Urban Collective Show on Instagram. You can also follow us at the Urban Collective Show on Facebook. Last but not least, we have some great merch. As you can see, we have hats, we have hoodies, we have also I forgot what, hats, hoodies, and everything. T-shirts that you can purchase. So make sure you go to the Urban Collective Show, www.theurbancollectiveshow.com. New website has launched, so make sure you go on there and you will be able to purchase and help support us. Because for us to put this on, we have to pay the bills, y'all. So help support us and help us out. But thank you. And Bernadine, you can close us out.
That's it. So as always, we love to close out our show with a motivational quote to inspire you all, to encourage you all to continue to persist. As NIC said, thank you so much for continuously rocking with us. We wouldn't be able to be where we are without your love and your support and your guidance. And we're excited to take y'all on this next wave of our life chapters too, because we're forever evolving and changing. But Booker T. Washington says this to all of you. Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. And so again, on that note, we are all navigating a difficult time of obstacles, of challenges. it's not just about that destination satisfaction and making it to that end goal, but very much about the obstacles and the challenges we've maneuvered and persisted through. That makes us greater and a better version of ourselves. So without further ado, it's your girl, Bernadine Truth.
It's your man, NIC.
And we'll catch you in due time.
Yes,
Much love, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.